Hi guys, Retha here. So today I'm talking anything and everything about NSFAS funding for your student accommodation property. And as you might have heard, on the 13th of May, just a couple of days ago, Minister Blade Nzimande did his annual speech. And he did his speech for the Department of Higher Education and Training. All right. And he talked about the budget that was available and that they received. So the Department of Education basically received 130 billion rands, okay, from national government to roll out various initiatives. And then I saw all these headlines in the news about what is it that, because obviously, hello, what do? I do student accommodation. And 80% of my students, 80 to 90% in most cases, are actually NSFAS students or NSFAS students, whichever way you want to call it. So I wanted to see, what does that budget look like? And is the government really still dedicated and planning to extend that and keep that budget out there for students? Now, for you guys out there that don't know what NSFAS is, you can Google it, but it is basically a fund that the government subsidizes or to pay for students to go to university. The NSFAS fund usually includes things like their studies, a book allowance, travel allowance, a housing allowance, a food allowance. Okay, and these bursaries are normally for students that come from disadvantaged backgrounds so that they can also go and study. But you can get all of that and the details and how it works and all that. You can get that in my book. It will be releasing soon. So you're welcome to go and subscribe to get a copy of that at rethavanrooyen.com. And you can pre-order one so long. That should be releasing in the next 4 weeks or so. But anyway, so back to NSFAS. So NSFAS is basically that body that provides the money for these students, right? And 90% of the students living with me actually rely on those bursaries to get them through the year, to pay for their housing and whatever other things that they require. So I wanted to get into that budget tonight, and I want to show you what the minister said and what that actually means to us in the student accommodation field. So first thing I saw was obviously these headlines, right? So you would have seen this coming out on the 13th of May. NSFAS allocated 49 billion budget for the 22-23 financial year. Okay, that is a 7% increase from last year, which means that there's a little bit of an increase for us, around about 7%, that will come to us in terms of fees that we'll be able to charge. So you'll see here that they announced that they are, of that 130 billion that the department got, 49 billion of that is going to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS. Right, so now if you then dig down a little bit, so what does that mean? Because obviously that doesn't, all of that doesn't go to accommodation. That is broken up into various other pieces of funding pockets, if I can call it that, and so on. So what you will see, which is very, very interesting, is that they say that they're going to take 2.9 billion of this, and they are going to build. So the government, the universities out there, they are going to build housing. Now, part of what they're also going to do is they're planning to build 2 new universities, one in Limpopo and the other one, I think, in Ekurhuleni, if I'm not mistaken. But exactly the addresses and things we don't know yet. But they do talk about that quite a lot in the speech and all over the documentation. So what does that mean? They are going to build 16,000 beds across 11 universities. So that sounds like a lot, right? And they're going to spend 2.9 billion rands on that. But if you know anything about student accommodation, you'll know that 16,000 beds in greater scheme of things is nothing. right? It is a small drop in the ocean, and you will see that the minister actually acknowledges that, and he says clearly that 2.9 billion is inadequate for student accommodation, and therefore we will seek private sector partnerships, including those already indicating they are investing on their own, which means that government is open for partnerships, right? So if you identify a big project out there, you have a good team, you might be able to go to the government, get some subsidies, and get favorable conditions for your development, all right, which is really, really amazing. And you can clearly see some of the bigger guys like the Eris Property Group that's developing a 3,000 bed student hub in Cape Town CBD. You can see them, I'm sure they're already taking advantage of that, these favorable conditions that the minister is talking about in this thing here. But then I thought, okay, well, let's dig a little deeper. So, you know, news articles in general papers, they give you the headlines, but what did the minister actually say? So you can actually just Google that, and you can get his actual speech that he delivered on the 12th of May. You can get that here on the old internet. And here's the interesting part. You'll see here that they say that overall total enrollments in the public university sector, so these are all your major 26 universities, have been projected to be 1.1 million. So you see why I'm saying that 16,000 is just a drop in the ocean in the greater scheme of things, okay? And this is only, by the way, 1 million of university students. Then there's still colleges and TVET colleges and things like that, right? So, but we'll get to that. And this is for the 2022 academic year. And then what's interesting is you will see the plans that the government have. And this is important, guys, that you understand what is it that's being planned so that you can also plan your strategy and so on in the right way. So you will see here that they say they're going to increase this number that we have increased, okay, from 452,000. Okay, this is for TVET colleges. Remember, I spoke about universities at 1.1 million. TVET colleges, they went from 452,000 to 580,000 students. All right, so this is now a total of, let's call this 600 plus your 1.1 million is 1.7 million students out there. All right, and the funding of these TVET colleges, they're actually receiving bursaries. 261,000 of them received bursaries in 2021, and that has will be increased to 329,000. That is an increase of 30 plus 40, 70,000 students. Okay, which is why the minister says that 16,000 is totally inadequate. And you can see why, because 99% of the time, your NSFAS bursary students will require accommodation, even though there's online learning. Their home environment is not conducive to be studying from home. So they will still require some kind of hybrid solution. They come and stay at your house, they'll do online learning from your property, and they might attend some classes once a week or so, or go write tests or whatever on the university premises. And that is what this is all about. So even though you hear about these big buildings, these big things, I always like, my heart stops for a moment and I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? Are they actually going to build so many of these buildings now that there's no more space for the small guy out there? Well, guess what? No. With those kind of numbers, there will always be space for everybody. I mean, if I think about it, right? The biggest companies in South Africa, all the biggest student accommodation places, like, and I'm just going to throw out some names here, but the Feenstra Group, which is part of the Growth Point family, can I call it that? You've got Campus Key, you've got Respublica, which, by the way, got the biggest 1.1 billion rand investment into their company. All of those ones, right? Eris Property Group that I mentioned earlier, all of them, none of them, I don't know any one of them that can help 1 million students. Okay, so 10,000 students is a lot. 20,000 students is a lot, but compared to 1 million, and of that 1 million, if only half of them require accommodation, nobody can help that. Nobody can fulfill that. And that is what has been my mission all along, is to help anybody out there. No matter how big or how small you want to be, I can help you to learn how to do it yourself. You can go to m5propertyvarsity.com and go and learn how to do it. You know, people always say, why would you teach your competition? Guys, with these numbers, I'm not worried about competition, right? And then obviously, you can get coaching in that from there, or you can buy a property. And if you don't want to be stuck with the hassle of all of that, there's mystudenthouse.co.za, where we do a turnkey offering management service for people out there. So you don't have any excuses. Get in there, help us with this mission to create a safe learning environment and grow and nurture our future leaders. Thanks, guys. Bye.